wanted to maintain a little bit of familiarity, but here we are now in not a PvP, a PvZ on Hecate. Well, we're here in the bottom left-hand corner map, starting all the way in the bottom left. We have our blue Zerg player coming down from the land of Poland, representing Team Liquid. We have Elazer.
And spawning in the top right-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the red Pro Tour player from the land of France, representing Maturino Esports. It is Arrogfire.
I gotta tell you, Light, out of all of the players in ESL Masters Winter EU that have returned and are competing here, the one that I'm keeping my eye on is this player right here, Arrogfire. He is continuing his debut here. You know, he actually just very recently became eligible to play in ESL Masters just because of an age thing. And in his very first match, he went up against Serral and went about as well as you could expect. It was an 0-2 in the end, but he came back a couple of days later, and he was able to redeem himself in his second match, taking out DNS, no less, 2-0. So Arrogfire definitely has a lot of potential on him, and I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves here, but I'm getting ready my confetti for the Royal Road.
Oh my god! You just ran through to 11. You're like, mate, look, I don't want to get too ahead of myself, but I think I see the next world champion.
I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I'm getting ahead of myself.
Mate, he's the best player in Europa, papi. Okay, I understand. I understand the hype here, and I mean, I'm a big fan of Arrogfire as well. We were lucky enough to cast Arrogfire versus DNS a couple of days ago here on the B stream, and Arrogfire was looking damn on point. And I do think it was a good thing that he went up against Serral first, because Serral was a great icebreaker. You know, he wasn't meant to. I mean, Serral was the favorite player coming in. It's so difficult to bring him down, even to take a map. So I think losing against Serral was expected, and it's a good way to, again, kind of ease yourself into the format, into competing on the big stage. Now we're here to fight back. Arrogfire, already Twilight Council opener, not a Stargate.
Yeah. Something in the water today. Not a Stargate at all. That is a Twilight Robo opener coming out from him.
Yeah, it is. We're going to be keeping our eyes on the gases to see whether or not this is going to be a Dark Shrine opener or going to be Glaive Adepts instead. Both are viable. Both are good builds here to open up, to get on the front foot here. There it is. Glaive Adepts is on the way. We don't pull out a gas, which is interesting. So this could be up to 6 gateways. We could go up to more than 4 gateways, or we could even throw down a Dark Shrine alongside this nonetheless.
Yeah, it's a very smooth transition to go from Glaive Adepts into DTs, or, I mean, usually it's Archons, but you try to get the DTs to get a bit of damage while your Zerg opponent doesn't yet have detection.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just going to say, for now, it is going to be 4 gates, which isn't the most committed Glaive opening.
Yes, it isn't. For now, it's 4 gateways. I'm still keeping my eye on what we do throw down behind this as well, and alongside this. There it is. It is the Dark Shrine. Because we stayed in gas, this wasn't just going to be 4 gate Glaive Adepts. I was thinking either DTs or maybe just 2 more gateways. So we're just doubling down here on the aggression. Meanwhile, Elazer catches with it. Something is wrong. Something is amiss. He does throw down a safety Roach Warren.
Yeah, he sees 4 Adepts and nothing else, really. Hasn't quite been able to get into that main base, but even still, this is a pretty massive tell at this stage of the game.
It is. As Arrogfire, he's going to be zooming across the map. Elazer getting ready his defenses back at home. Coming into this, of course, Elazer is the favorite player. He's one of the best Drake players in all of Europe. We didn't quite get too much into Elazer in the openers, but again, he is one of the strongest that we have to offer here in this region. And can he do what Serral could, or will he fall here and now against the new up-and-comer? Adepts are going to be threatening a shade. We should not commit, not yet. We got plenty of queens, plenty of lings, but do we have detection? I see a Spore in the natural, no Spore at the third, though.
Yeah, Elazer is just conserving a couple of resources. He can only really get one spore up and running, but it is in position to really catch where the DTs most likely will be.
Oh, and we do commit to the shade. Lings, we're ready for a surround. We have roaches on the way. Queens as well. We do take down a big chunk of Lings, but here we go. The DTs are going straight for the main.
And there's no detection just yet. DTs are coming in, and they're trying to take out the spore, but very quick reaction from Elazer will ensure that the spore stays up and running. There's a very effective body block going on there, and when it's all said and done, Arrogfire will make it out of here with 1 Archon, loses 2 of his DTs, loses 12 Adepts, and he gets 2 drones and 39 Lings, which is the most efficient trade for Protoss.
Yeah, Elazer with a very strong defense here. The spore finished up just in time. We spoke about how vulnerable the third base was, but Arrogfire, he went for the kill move, he went for the main base. He went for a chance, a risk, and it was a risk that did not work in his favor. Arrogfire is now in a really compromised position. His third base is so delayed, his tech is so delayed, and Elazer, he is here to deny that third. He has potential to deny the third.
Yeah, what can really stop all of these Lings? There's 1 Immortal, which will fall to a full surround of Lings, and there's 2 Adepts. Thankfully, he is able to cancel it rather than kill the base in the end there. Arrogfire still trying to get some damage done with his Archons, but he's being preoccupied. These Archons go way too deep into Elazer's side of the map. One of them will fall, and the Warpism takes a lot of hits too.
It does. The Immortal does survive. It's able to race back home to the safety of the natural, but Arrogfire, he isn't able to accomplish too much across the map. He loses the third base. He's contained to 2 bases. And behind this Elazer, we have a lair already done. Roach speed on the way, +1 range as well. And yeah, Elazer, he's looking pretty.
Oh, yeah. After the initial wave was deflected, Elazer has been sitting very comfortable for the rest of this game, pretty much. Lair finished up, like you mentioned. Goliath Constitution is about halfway done, and Elazer's got a lot of options on his hands. He is getting 4th base, but if he so chose to, he could just make a massive wave of roaches and go completely cross map to finish Arrogfire.
Yeah, if he wanted to, he could cut workers at, around 60 to 66 workers and just make nothing but roaches, or he could double expand, and there it is. We have a double expand coming in from Elazer. He's just getting further ahead, just saturating all of his bases and securing himself, and it's going to be on Arrogfire to somehow come back. Now, he's got some options. Of course, he still has DTs. We're going for an Archon drop here to maybe pick up a couple of Overlords here and there, and he will find some. Meanwhile, that's some creep being spread. It looks like Elazer is getting ready for a push.
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you're this far ahead, you might as well double expand, but it is kind of weird to see a Zerg player be this greedy when they're planning to actually, go for a time.
Yeah, so I'm still not sure, right? I'm still not sure if Elazer does want to attack or not, as he did make another wave of drones. That Bailey Nest is on the way, +1 range is about to finish up, and we have Overlords finishing up as well to get out of the supply block. Arrogfire doing everything he can to keep Elazer busy, but Elazer, he's just got a massive army. He doesn't need to. He can just always counterattack. There are a lot of Immortals, but only Immortals. There's no Bay, there's no Disruptors, there's no Colossi, none of the sort.
Yeah, it's all been delayed just because Arrogfire has had his own third base delayed. That was thanks to the consistent pressure that Elazer's been able to apply on him.
Yeah, exactly. And we have our answer, by the way. We are joining up to not quite 66. We're joining up to 68. 5 more drones on the way, though. So again, Elazer, he's not committing. He does have a terrifying army, but it looks like he's getting ready to receive an attack instead. And here comes Arrogfire.
Yeah, he's got a pretty beefy army, but he is very far behind when it comes to army supply. Roach Ravager, I mean, it isn't the most efficient use of supply, but that's still a massive deficit that Arrogfire has.
Oh, yeah, definitely. As Ling Bane does roll it in, we dive on top of the army. The Archons are exposed, the Immortals as well, and they're all going to be going down one after the other. As you mentioned, a very high-quality army, but there wasn't enough meat on this army, on the bones here of this force, and Arrogfire is being forced back.
All the way back home. These Immortals do not want to land at all, because otherwise I think they're just going to be one-shotted. It's 108 army supply for Elazer versus the 33 of Arrogfire. If Elazer wanted to, he honestly could just end the game. There we go, just waiting for reinforcements.
Yeah, he's consulting his army before pushing up this ramp. We do have one disruptor on the way, the Great Equalizer, but it's not done yet. The main thing is they crash into the mineral line. 18 workers go down. Another Nova is going to be going up.
Ooh.
Good connection, but sometimes one isn't enough.
Yeah, one is enough when you're relatively even with your opponent on army supply, but when your opponent's got like 3 to 4 times the supply, one is not enough. GG is called. Elazer is going to be taking game number 1. Very solid reactive play coming out from him.
GG, well played, exactly. I appreciate the build out of Arrogfire, but the execution was a little bit lacking when it came down to, how he committed to the shade and what base he decided to attack with his DTs as well. He just went all in, diving into the main, and Elazer was more than ready for it. After shutting it down, he was just miles ahead. That's the downside of this these Twilight Council openers from Protoss. Regardless of whether there was a Dark Shrine or not, you need to get damage done. If you don't, then you do set yourself behind because you're delaying the rest of your tech, you're delaying your third base, you're delaying everything in favor of aggression.
Indeed. Yeah, when you put it like that, I think this game does serve as a very textbook case of that, When you're not able to equalize when it comes to the economy, when your initial opening with the glaives doesn't get enough damage done, you're kind of pigeonholing yourself for the rest of the game, and even then, that pigeonhole isn't very likely to yield results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. So with that, Arrogfire is going to have to try to go back to the drawing board here in game number 2. I'm expecting a much more standard opener. I'm expecting a Stargate, or if we do go for a Twilight Council, maybe, just regular Glaive Adepts into a third base instead. We have options available. And I understand as well that Arrogfire is the underdog coming into this. He's probably feeling a lot of pressure on him to make some magic happen, but give us a straight up game, and I want to see if Arrogfire can take it to Elazer in the mid game instead.
Yeah. That's what we will be keeping our eyes out for.
Definitely.
I feel like we were kind of robbed of that in game number 1. That's because of how the openings played themselves out. But regardless, we're going to be continuing our series now on Hot Lead. We're in the bottom right-hand corner of the map, starting all the way in the bottom right-hand corner. We have our red Protoss player coming out from the land of France. He is making his debut here in ESL Masters Winter, representing Maturino Esports. He is Arrogfire.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have his opponent. We have the Polish Zerg player representing Team Liquid, leading the series 1-0. It is Elazer.
And we're talking a lot about, what we expect to see from Arrogfire here. Mostly because from the side of Elazer, I don't think he really needs to play this match out to... He doesn't need to be the one dictating the pace of the game, right? He usually is pretty comfortable just playing as a reactive player, and as we saw in game number 1, keeping back, keeping his eyes on his opponent here, and just reacting to their moves has yielded really, really successful results for him so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really has. I mean, again, that's kind of the role as a Zerg player. You want to be the reactive player, at least most of the time. There are exceptions, of course, like players like me and Micah, or even Dark or Silky, where you want to take control of the car and be in the driver's seat. But yeah, just really solid play out of Elazer. Really good scouting, really good reactions. And we'll see what we get into. Already a bit of a different opener. Elazer does go for, I believe it was a 14-15 from the side of our Zerg. Of course, this does mean that we get our base up and running on location. Arrogfire didn't even probe scout, so a little bit unnecessary there from Elazer, but he's just trying to be as safe as possible.
Yeah. The last thing you want is for to, especially against a player who has demonstrated that they're more than willing to go glaive to depths, and as an opener, the last thing you want is to take an unnatural second base.
Exactly, and I love this out of Arrogfire. This is what I wanted, especially in game 2 after the failed aggression of game 1. It is not a Twilight Council.
It is not. It's actually a Stargate coming out.
Yeah, there we go. And with that Stargate opener, this should be leading into a third base. It should be more standard, and we should be working towards the mid game. But now I'm a little bit concerned for Arrogfire because as we get into this game, and as a link slips in for a full scout, actually a full free scout, we are on hard lead. And the rush distance by ground is very short. We have seen many Roach Queen all-ins, whether it's Queen Walks or German Taxis. We've seen a lot of different all-ins from Zergs in ZVP on this very map, and I know that Elazer was more reactive last game, but he could even be the aggressor here in Game 2.
Yeah, he's got options. He's got a ton of options. In the meantime, though, Arrogfire will be producing an Oracle, so not playing too defensively with a Void Ray first. Just wants to get across the map and get some eyes on what Elazer's planning here.
Yeah, exactly, as the Oracle should be moving on out. Third base is on the way here for Arrogfire back at home, so again, he's going to be working on his third. And Elazer doesn't really have too many links active on the field to try to delay or try to punish this third base. Overlord is in position, and Elazer does see the pylon being thrown down, so he can piece together that, of course, Arrogfire is expanding.
Indeed. Oracle makes his way across the map, but Elazer was already ready for it, so yeah, not only has Arrogfire not quite been able to utilize that Pulsar Beam, he also doesn't really get eyes on the bases of Elazer. He will be turning around and will at the very least confirm that Elazer is on 3 bases.
Does at least confirm the base count. Now that first Oracle has been joined by a second, so we can one-shot workers, but so far the Queen positioning has been on point. Arrogfire, he dives straight for the natural, but there is a Spore. There are Queens in the main as well, and we have done no damage, but there is no Spore in the main.
There's a Spore, but there are 2 Queens. Arrogfire targeting down as many drones as he can, getting out of here before his Oracles get taken out. 3 drones go down. Not too bad, considering he kept both his Oracles alive, but you can tell he was definitely looking for a lot more damage.
Yeah, 3 workers, some lost mine time, punishing Elazer for not having a Spore in his main, so good damage was dealt. We rotate back around, but are we flying too close to the sun here, as there are plenty of Queens and the Oracles, they barely do escape.
One of them is so insanely low on health. Elazer even taking a very quick 4th base. Feeling very confident as this game moves forward. I say that, but that 4th is in a prime position to act as a launch pad.
Oh, it really is, as we are droning up a little bit further. The adepts finally go down after getting 2 more worker kills. We have our transition. It is going to be Blink and +1 for Arrogfire. So again, everything is looking quite normal and quite standard so far when it comes to how we get into the mid game of this PvZ. Meanwhile, Elazer is droning. He's getting a lair. He's also getting an Evo chamber, so he's looking like he's just chilling and easing his way into the mid game as well.
Yeah, as the 3 Oracles rock back into that main. Arrogfire's back with a vengeance, but he will lose one of his Oracles. A lot more drones go down, and he will at least and he will also confirm that Elazer is going for a lair and is grabbing that Roach Warren. So at the back of his mind, he's got to already start planning for a potential Roach timing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really good scout here for Arrogfire, especially because in the new patch in recent times, Ling Hydra has been very popular. It's been very popular to skip the Roach Warren and just go into Hydras instead. So very important to take note of that. Meanwhile, we're going one step further. We throw down the Infestation Pit. Elazer already thinking about that Hive Tech.
Yeah, no Hydra Den yet, but it doesn't need to be a Hydra Den either. You know, with the changes to the Infestor, it could just be a very quick Infestation Pit, or it could just be an 8-minute Hive.
And we have seen that before. We do see that Arrogfire is pushing out. I'm really curious as to what it is that Elazer recognized that is the correct call to make, because it is amazing. He dives over the 4th base. He now knows that Arrogfire is taking. That's a kill, not a cancel.
Yep. And just like that, Arrogfire is even further behind economically.
Yeah, the Stalkers are getting surrounded. They do blink to the other side of the wall. They do recall back home immediately, but alas, this 4th base is not going to get up and running. Now, when I was talking about tech, that is a second Robo on the way and a Robotics Bay as well. So Arrogfire, he's building up towards Colossus production. But what this means is that he's staying at home. And once again, we get another cancel on the 4th.
He just wants to mine. But he cannot mine. Elazer won't let him mine. And I said 8-minute Hive. Well, it's actually a 7-minute Hive coming out from Elazer here, as Hydroden is about to finish up as well. It looks like he is just trying to get to his late game tech of lurkers as quickly as possible.
And he's free to do it. What I was getting at earlier, because Arrogfire is teching, that means that he isn't attacking. He isn't attacking anytime soon. He's stuck at home. He's struggling to expand and hold on to his 4th base. And he's going to be building up a death pool of 4 Colossi, of maybe some Immortals, some Archons. Like, this is what he's working towards. Which means that Elazer is safe to do whatever he wants. He's taking more bases. He's droning. He's got a Lurker Den, a Hive on the way. He's even collapsing on these Stalkers already.
Yeah, already trading very, very well. Just making the eventual big push and the eventual massive engagement a little bit easier before it begins.
Yeah, exactly. And Elazer is just getting away with so much just because he has identified, of course, that Arrogfire is going to be a little bit more passive. We do see both Colossi moving out. They get caught out by some of the Lings already.
And the Roaches are in position. They're looking to pounce. Colossus trade well against the Lings, but not at all against the Roaches. Both of them go down, and sure, Elazer's gonna lose his Roaches over right now, but he has so much larva, he has so much income that he can very easily replace them.
He can. We have 25 more Roaches on the way. Elazer's in a little bit of trouble here, but because he killed both Colossi, he should be safe and sound against this push. Arrogfire going to try and force his way in, and he will gain some ground. He cleans up some of that creep, but here come those reinforcements.
Yeah, Lings are starting to get into position. Adrenal Glands close to finishing. Another Colossus pops out here and is, waiting for its moment to... And Arrogfire is really waiting for them to get into position before he starts pushing in towards this location.
Yeah, again, only 2 Colossi. Meanwhile, the Hive upgrades are on the way. Adrenal as well as a Lurker range group spines in production. Arrogfire, there's a lot of pressure on him to get damage done. So far, Elazer he's holding. As he bleeds out Lings and Roaches, he's replacing them with Hydras and Lurkers.
Yeah, he was actually maxed out for a second there, so it's really important for him to start trading out some of his lower tech units so that he can get to his late game composition. I do think that there was a very slight window of opportunity there for Arrogfire where Elazer was still a little bit in the middle of his transition, but that time has passed. Elazer has his Lurkers out, he's getting a couple of Vipers out, and this is going to be even harder for Arrogfire to break into. He is now maxed out, so he's going to try to get something done, but yeah, it's a lot easier said than done.
And here we go. We're just rotating over towards the 5th base of Elazer. The Lurker is not quite in position, but they're here on the high ground nonetheless. Nova goes off. This hatchery is going to be going down. Arrogfire, he is fighting back, but things will change once the Vipers arrive. Until then, though, we're actually getting on top of some of these Lurkers.
Yeah, the Extended Lance, the Thermal Lance upgrade here on the Colossus is definitely putting in quite a bit of work, fighting fire with fire, so to speak. This is a very good concave of Lurker, so for Elazer, there's no way Arrogfire is going to be able to break up that ramp. Doesn't need to, though, as he is working on his 5th.
Yeah, he's working on that 5th base behind this army, of course, as Arrogfire is going to be rotating around once again, looking for a better angle wherever there happen to be, no Lurkers or minimal Lurkers, but we have 7 more on the way. Elazer just doubling down on Hydra Lurker production, and this time the Vipers are ready. They're full of energy.
And they are looking to get some yoinks. Abducts or Blinding Clouds, either or would really be very valuable for Elazer. 2 Colossus already are forfeit, and a 3rd will go down as well. Arrogfire really wants to take out this base, but I think he's flying too close to the sun. He has massively overextended with his main army.
Yeah, he really has. He's down to 1. He's down to 0 Colossi. Now, both Vipers were sniped, so Arrogfire does at least trade a little bit, but those were expensive trades for Arrogfire. He at least keeps the Disruptors alive. Just, they are alive, but they have been... Okay, we're good. Looks like they weren't quite a part of the control group, and they are being brought back in, and they should be able to make it back home.
Feels bad for these Disruptors, man. They're alive, but they're abandoned.
They were forgotten for a little bit there as we try to push up the ramp, but oh my god, there's so many Lurkers waiting.
Yeah, there's no way you can really break into that as a Protoss player. Arrogfire trying to loop around, trying to rotate, but Elazer, already wise to that, already lifts up, unburrows his Lurkers, and gets them back into position.
Yeah, Exactly, Elazer able to keep up here. I mean, the army is maxed out for Arrogfire once again. He's going for a Zealot Run, but he catches some of these spine crawlers that are mid-building here. And Elazer, he's in a bit of trouble. Could be losing a base, but he pushes on that. He's about to be surrounded, though.
Yeah, from both angles. So a lot of lurkers, but not a lot of a buffer for these lurkers. 2 Purification Novas land, and yeah, these lurkers are going to go down. These roaches are going to go down as well. Arrogfire very quick to warp in some reinforcements, and now he's got some momentum going his way.
He does. He does have a lot of momentum going his way. The Vipers, where are they? We need them with the main arm if we want to try to contest against this. As we do see Arrogfire once again going for another Zealot run, but it looks like the one on the right-hand side was cleaned up. Meanwhile, Lurkers are getting in position, but Zealots, they get into the natural.
Yeah, they're really chasing back these Hydras. It's very important right now for Arrogfire to keep these Hydras occupied and ideally trade against them as well, because there are only 4 Lurkers right now for Elazer. That's still very effective, especially if they camp on top of a ramp like this, but they can't be everywhere at once.
Yeah, again, like Elazer, he was looking dominant until that counterattack where his lurker count was reset. That was the moment where suddenly Arrogfire is in this game. He's going to be able to take down an entire mineral line and a base as well. Meanwhile, we're going for our own counterattack. We're going for a pseudo base trade.
Yeah, no lurkers of this army, but there is still a full energy Viper with all of this. Couple of lurkers get into position. Storm's finished up, and that is a very, very painful storm to sit in if you're a Hydralisk. Lurkers get cleaned out, and Arrogfire is pushing this back.
Yeah, Elazer, he overextends for a second time. He did not have enough lurkers. He did not respect this position. And now Arrogfire, he's snowballing out of control. He's pushing across enough. He has plenty of High Templar, plenty of storms. And it looks like Arrogfire, he can pull this off.
GG is called, and Arrogfire will be tying us up sideways 1-1, bringing us to the ace match. That was painful to watch all of those drones move past the storm to try to evacuate. Oof. Nicely done here from Arrogfire.
Yeah, very nicely done. GG, well played. Now, to quickly go over that game, I do like that Elazer was able to rush and race his way into Hive, into Lurkers. But there were 2 big moments when he pushed towards the 4th base, and also when he pushed towards that center base as well, where he did overextend, where he did throw away his lurker lead. He got surrounded, he got cleaned up, and again, Elazer was, yeah, maybe just a little bit overconfident in his pushes, and he was punished hard by Arrogfire.
Absolutely. He wasn't expecting Arrogfire to have split up his army like that. You were mentioning when he pushed into that center base with all of his lurkers, I think maybe, and I guess I don't blame Elazer too much for this, just because he was able to confirm that Arrogfire was on 3 bases for a very long time, and eventually 4 bases as well, compared to his 5 or 6 for the longest time in that game. But yeah, I guess he wasn't expecting Arrogfire to really be able to max out as quickly as he was able to.
Yeah, exactly. Again, I do think it was just a bit of overconfidence out of Elazer, and I don't blame him because he had a really good start. Remember, he initially got a kill on the 4th base, then he got a cancel. He was able to scout, able to confirm, able to snipe 2 Colossus really early on. Like, things were looking really good for Elazer, but it just slipped through his fingers.
Yeah. Right through the cracks. Anyway, we're going to be concluding this PvZ, best of 3 PvZ, over here on Golden Aura, where we're in the bottom right-hand corner map, spawning all the way in the bottom right. We have our blue Zerg player coming down from the land of Poland, representing Team Liquid. We have Elazer.
And spawning in the top left-hand corner, we have as opponent, we have the French Protoss player, the red Protoss representing Maturino Esports. It is Arrogfire. Predicted by Yaku to walk that royal road.
Yeah, exactly. As been foretold.
There you go, and yeah, this time Elazer is going to be going for a regular hatch first. Remember, in game number 2, he went for a 14-15 instead. But this time he's just going to be able to take his expansion on location without too much issue. And my eyes are on Arrogfire. Again, this map is quite different. It's a lot more congested. The rush distance by ground is a lot shorter as well. And yeah, we have seen that once the ball gets rolling, the action just doesn't stop.
Yeah. Keep rolling. Rolling. Rolling.
There you go.
There we go. Yeah, very compact map, as you were saying. Very not just compact, but congested, like you were saying. There's a lot of debris going on around. There's a lot of solid walls that are difficult for land units to really traverse around. So, yeah, it leads to a lot of chaotic situations once we do get to those big army engagements.
Definitely. And we'll see if we can get there. You know, I'm hoping that Arrogfire goes for another Stargate opener. I feel like it's just a little bit too risky to go for Twilight Councils against Elazer. Elazer has really solid early game defense, and testing that and trying to challenge that is a difficult thing to do. So I will keep our eyes on Arrogfire. Based on this pylon positioning, it's looking like a Stargate, but, you know, we can always, you know, take a different turn.
Yeah, we're keeping our eyes peeled. I wouldn't be too surprised if it was another Robo opening, but instead it is going to be a Stargate.
There it is. We do have that Stargate here from Arrogfire. Should be for an Oracle, should be for a third base, and then leading into the mid game as well, which is kind of what we're all looking forward to. What I'm looking forward to, and what we were deprived of in game 1.
Exactly. Arrogfire, I think in game number 2 has proven that he can play the late game. He can take it to some of the best of them, but yeah, that's not really possible as a Protoss player in a PvZ if you don't get massive damage with your opening.
Yeah, definitely. So from here, we are just going to be easing our way into this. When it comes to Golden Ore especially, our 3-base setup is actually very secure, so Arrogfire should be fine on 3 bases. The 4th is a little bit more exposed, and I say a little bit more, not as much as Hardlead, so I feel like Arrogfire should have an easier time expanding as the Adepts do get in, and we're actually getting some drone kills.
Yeah, not too bad. As long as this other Adept stays alive. It's getting really low, but it will be able to survive right at the end here. 2 drones for one Adept. Not too bad. 2 drones for 2 Adepts. Not very good.
And I'm not too sure if I like this. Arrogfire did activate the Pulsar Beam on his Oracle on a Ling, which means he has significantly less energy to deal harassing damage across the map as well. The Queens are in position. The second Oracle is on the way to meet up with the first, but again, we'll have a little bit less energy to deal damage and to kill workers, as Elazer does not have a Spore in the main, only in the natural.
Yeah, but he does have a couple of Queens, so he's keeping them together. He does have that creep connection between all of his bases, so these Queens aren't going to have too much trouble going back and forth.
Exactly. We should be able to keep up with the movements. Meanwhile, here we go. The first 2 Oracles are moving out. We do have a follow-up, and we'll keep our eyes on this probe. We have a Twilight Council. We should be seeing a Forge, and there it is. Forge is on the way. We will not be going for a committed follow-up. We are going for something more standard.
Indeed. Bit more of a timing attack coming out from Arrogfire. Well, I say timing attack, but it really could be. There's really a lot of different possibilities. Usually when I see a Forge this early on, my mind goes to Chargelit Archon, but we have seen a lot of Protoss players get the Forge just to keep up when it comes to their upgrades while they play a lot more defensively with cannons.
We have seen that before, as the Adepts are going to be shading on in. They get 1-2 workers, but the Lings are in position to deny them. Meanwhile, triple Oracle dives in between the bases, but we are in position. We do have a Spore in the main as well. Elazer does lose 5 workers, but this could have been much worse.
It really could have. Arrogfire confirms the lair and makes it out of here with all 3 Oracles alive, so yeah, they're still going to be able to provide their utility as this game continues. Charge is now on the way for Arrogfire.
Oh, he wants the pylon. He wants it. It looks like he will just barely get the pylon as well. It's going to be bleeding out a lot of Lings, but no, he does get a couple of probes alongside this.
Yeah, this is definitely a pretty heavy investment here from Elazer, but yeah, when it's all said and done, it looks like it worked out.
Hey, he gets 4 workers as well as a pylon as well, so not too bad. As you were bringing up before, this is going to be +1 and not Blink. It's going to be +1 and Charge instead. Thankfully, Elazer did throw down a safety Roach Warren, so he's not rushing into Ling Hydra like we have seen other Zerg players do in the new patch.
No names, but you know who you are.
Exactly. As this army is still looking very bare bones, Elazer, he's looking, hunting for any kind of free units, any stray units from Arrogfire, but he doesn't find anything yet. Arrogfire still just refining his army, still working towards Zealots and eventual Archons.
Yeah, but this was a very important move out from Elazer. He sees how fast the Zealots are, he confirms it is going to be charged, immediately throws down a Baneling Nest.
There we go. So it's going to be Ling Bane Roach from Elazer. As you mentioned, he's fully aware. Hot pickup, saving that sentry, by the way. Nice moves out of Arrogfire, as these Lings are still being quite a nuisance here, still threatening the bases. They do spot those High Templar as well, just merely to be morphed into Archons. And again, Elazer, he has all the information he needs.
Yeah, he does. Getting a pretty similar vibe to game number 1, where Elazer is now just playing the role of the defender. He's going to be playing this game a lot more reactively, as opposed to game number 2, which was a very active plan from start to finish.
Oh, and I'm concerned this base is under threat. The 4th base may even go down here. Arrogfire trying to go for a warp it, but it's a little bit too late.
Yeah, he's going to have to cancel that. It isn't canceled. It does get killed, and all of a sudden the pressure has increased tenfold here for Arrogfire. He needs to reciprocate. Otherwise, he's just going to be behind for the rest of this entire game.
Yeah, I mean, he came back from worse on hard lead. You know, that is true. There was a kill and then a cancel on the 4th base, but the Lings are back and they're looking for that cancel. Arrogfire, he needs to turn around this time. He needs to deal with this.
And he will be able to chase this Ling run by away, should be able to secure that 4th, but he's missed his attack timing. He had a window earlier on where, you know, Elazer didn't quite have all of his defenses up just yet, didn't quite have the Roach army up yet, where that was when Arrogfire really wanted to hit and try to at least cancel a base, but now that's been delayed. Arrogfire is well aware of that. He is teching up elsewhere.
Yeah, and now Elazer, he's ready to max out. He's joined up to 80. He's been very greedy this game, and his economy is just getting out of control. He's working towards... The quality of his army isn't amazing, but it's still a max out on Ling, Bane, Roach, and Ravager. So many Banelings on the way. 28 Banelings in production. And Elazer's getting ready to just collapse on the 4th base and collapse on this army.
Yeah, once that 4th base falls, it shouldn't take too much, depending on how well Elazer trades, obviously. If he loses every single one of his Banelings taking out that Nexus, then I don't think he'll have enough to really take it to the army. But here we go. Elazer says, time to play.
They have a couple of stasis traps, but no, they get triggered by one Roach. The Banelings, they roll on in, they take down a couple of Zealots. The Archons are going to be standing strong. The Colossi come in from behind, but the Banelings, they go straight for the mineral line.
Yeah, good trade against the Banelings here from the Archons, but Arrogfire has lost his entire buffer. The rest of the Archons will fall, but it looks like he has just enough to chase the rest of the Roaches away. Meanwhile, over here in the 3rd, massive Baneling run-by will be taking out so many probes, but the Zealot run-by of Arrogfire is also getting some damage done.
Yeah, 14 workers, 14 drones do go down to the Zealot run by. Likewise, 16 workers in time. Mineral line fall to the Banelings as well. So both players are going to be kind of reciprocating that damage. They both take some losses, but the big thing here is that Arrogfire has to rebuild all of his Archons. He has Colossi, but not much to protect them. And Elazer has Remax. He's coming in for wave number 2.
Just like so. One of those very classic moments in StarCraft where 2 players can deal the same amount of economic damage, but it's going to hurt one of them a lot more just because of how the asymmetry works.
Exactly, and Elazer is going to be splitting up his forces. He has a Roach counter-strike, a massive Roach run by being set up here on the right-hand side. Meanwhile, a much smaller Roach Ravager army here on the front lines instead. They're going to try and pull apart Arrogfire, and Arrogfire, he hasn't been able to take notice on how large this run by is.
Oh, the Disruptors! One Purification Nova will land, and that's a very juicy connection, but that Disruptor is going to go down. The Robo Facility will be depowered as well. Arrogfire should eventually be able to clean this up, but at what cost?
Yeah, as we do have the Colossi and a couple of Archons turning back here, and we have Roaches slipping into the main base, only getting 4 workers. This did not really deal too much economic damage. It did depower and slow down the Disruptor production, that is true, but that was a pretty expensive trade for Elazer. That was a lot of Roaches.
It really was.
32.
For not a whole lot, yeah. How many of those 32 fell to the one Purification Nova? That's what I want to know.
True. Oh my god. So yeah, really solid defense there from Arrogfire. He's stabilizing. I wouldn't say that he's ahead, not yet. Elazer still committed to a Lingbane Roach Ravager army. His Hive feels a little bit late here, so Elazer is teching slowly towards Hive tech, towards potentially Lurkers and Vipers. For now, he's committed here with Lingbane, and Arrogfire doesn't need to push out. He can trade well, but he has to be very careful with how deep he pushes onto creep.
He really, really does. Funnily enough, though, Elazer is now maxed out, but the army supplies don't look too different. Obviously, part of that is because of how inflated Roach Ravager supply is, but at the same time, it's mostly just the fact that Elazer is a hit on drones.
Oh yeah, it's that drone lead that Elazer has that's really coming into play. But Arrogfire, he has more than enough time. We've got 3 Colossi, we've got 3 Disruptors, Archons as well. We're clearing up some of that creep. There's still a lot of creep here, which we have to respect. Elazer, he's setting up to potentially surround and just collapse on this army. Up!
Just like so. Banelings are moving on forward. Huge stasis ward, but an even bigger connection of Banelings onto the heart of this army. Very juicy Purification Nova, but I'm not convinced that's going to be enough here for Arrogfire. He's trying to juggle as best he can. These roaches are slowly but surely backing the Protoss army into a corner, and just like that, Elazer's traded.
Yeah, exactly. Elazer, he shuts down the Disruptors, the Colossus, and the Archons as well. Where was Arrogfire kiting to? Out into no man's land, and yeah, he gets cleaned up. Elazer can remax. Arrogfire lost everything.
Everything, all of his high-tech units. Again, it took him so long to rebuild and get his 3 Colossus, 5 or 6 Archons, and in the blink of an eye, all gone. And now Elazer has a massive timing window.
Yeah, again, like, I didn't mind him clearing up creep, but he did overextend. He did push a little bit too far in. He was caught out by the main army. And Arrogfire, he had potential to turtle to defend at this 4th base and to eventually max out, but that is no longer the case, not anymore. And here we go, Elazer is looking to just collapse on the 4th. Ooh, and even get into some Mineral Lines.
Yeah, that entire Zealot wall just got completely evaporated. Just goes to show you how rich Elazer has been for the past couple of minutes in this game. Just how much resources he had to afford all of these Banelings.
Yeah, as we do have Mineral Lines going down one after the other. Oof. Big connection here on the Roach Ravager. But there's barely anything left on the ground. The Zealots have warped in. We're trying to break on through. The Biles will not connect. And we are holding, but oh my god, 24 probes did go down.
Yeah, we're holding, but what are we holding on to is, I think, the question. Arrogfire did just finish up +3, and Elazer's still on 2-2 for the time being, so that's definitely helping him out a lot. I like this from Arrogfire. He's taking a massive risk trying to go for that gold base. But it does get scouted by Elazer very quickly. The Disruptors are super exposed. One of them will go down. Arrogfire going to be able to keep the other one alive, as well as the Immortal. But as long as it's in the Warp Prism, it's not able to really threaten the Roach army of Elazer. I'm impressed with how long Arrogfire's been able to stay alive, but I do think he's starting to lose steam here.
Yeah, it's almost a role reversal of the previous game where Elazer, he was like looking good, and then he had some really rough engagements. He lost all of his lurkers as a result, and similar story here where Arrogfire, he was stabilizing, but then he would push out, lose his Colossi, lose his Disruptors, and he needs time to rebuild, and that's time that Elazer is not giving him, as Elazer's remaxed once again.
Just like so. Just making sure he has the best army available to him before making any big pushes into Arrogfire's territory. The Warp Prism goes down to the Wall of Queens that were prepared for it, and just like that, Arrogfire has lost his harassment potential, won't be able to keep Elazer preoccupied at all.
Well, not as Banelings. They roll into the middle line. They take down 5 more workers, and Arrogfire, he's just trying to hold on here. Has some decent stasis traps. There is a world where he can take a good fight, but he needs more than just a good fight, as there's potential with stasis traps. We can maybe connect with those Purification Novas as well. There's a lot of ifs and buts, but Elazer is a good enough player to kind of avoid a lot of that.
Yeah. It's not too iffy. if that makes sense. Huge collapse onto this army. The entire middle line of Arrogfire will go down to the Banelings, and now the Roaches are getting on top of just about everything. Disruptors are being kept alive, but again, they can't really shoot out their Purification Novas when they're in the Warp Prism. This is going to be the final stand of Arrogfire.
Yeah, and everything goes down. The fourth base has been broken for the final time. GG gets called, and Elazer will take the series 2-1